All right. Welcome back, everybody, to some more OSU Mania 4-Key World Cup 2024 action. We're back in the quarterfinals with a doozy of a match. We got the number 4 seeded Philippines versus the number 5 seeded Chile. Two teams who I think a lot of people have been predicting for that top 3 spot. You know, we see a bunch of very good teams. These two I've seen so much talked about. They're so well matched up today. A winner's bracket match. So both these teams will still stay in the tournament. Just one will have the unfortunate task of fighting their way through the loser's bracket after this match. I'm Toph Daddy, one of your commentators, joined here by Dynascape. How is it going?
Oh boy, Toph, I am so excited. This is probably one of the most, if not the most anticipated matchup of the winners bracket. Philippines versus Chile. It seems like no one wants any of these teams to lose and go down to the losers bracket. Both very beloved by everyone in the MWC circle, and we all know it's gonna be very much so a close one as we get into the protect and ban phase. Do you have any assignments for Philippines or Chile? Where do you think they're gonna go? What do you think they need to do to win this matchup?
Yeah, I'm honestly not totally sure. I mean, we've just seen Chile protecting out Long Note 2, which is honestly not where I expected it to go. I was expecting Chile to be more comfortable in like the rice and maybe the hybrid zone, but the Philippines, but rather Chile actually taking a little bit of precaution there, going for the long notes instead. Philippines gets to protect, and I mean, I would have expected them to stick around like the hybrids. Philippines has always been a very, very strong hybrid team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they protected something like hybrid 3, but Rice 1 actually gets protected there, so we're seeing a little bit of a long note Rice dichotomy already coming out, maybe a little different from historic skill sets that these two teams have, but these two teams have changed a lot in the last few years. So we're going to be seeing Philippines favoring that rice and Chile favoring the long notes, it looks like. But I'm curious to see if either of the SVs get banned. Neither of them are protected, but I know both of these teams are more than capable of it. But SV1 does get banned out by Philippines here.
Very, very interesting ban by Philippines. Take out SV1. We're going to have to see if Chile wants to take out SV2, and I think that protect from Chile in LN2 is really off of the back of last round where they had a stellar team score on density pick as well, where they got second place only to the United States by 3,000 points in terms of team scoring. So that's what I think is really leading to that LN2 pick, where they can just really have good straight accuracy on a classic skill set that's very straightforward. And the Philippines, I'm not too sure why they had protected Rice 1. I'm assuming it's because they feel very, very confident in terms of stream accuracy, but I also am led to believe that Chile usually has two very good players in Muchi and Bambi FNF when it comes to higher physical levels and stuff like that. And as Chile thinks about their ban, I think they might have to strike out SV2 if possible.
That would be my guess, but if they were banning the SV pick here, I feel like it would have come out a lot faster. I'm almost thinking that the Philippines might have actually clocked their Rice 1 ban if that's the case, if it's taking them this long to decide. Either that or they're just taking their time, and Rice 5 actually comes out as the ban, so I think I'm on the mark. I think they were planning to ban Rice 1, not expecting Philippines to protect it.
Wow, that is a crazy read by the Philippines. I think they played this protect ban phase as well as you could. And Chile trying to strike out something very similar to Rice 1. So they seem to not like the stream maps, or at least Philippines has some aggression towards there and really want to go for it when it comes to that. So speedy picks, definitely the name of the game for Philippines. Chile going to try to find some more finesse picks in LN, and hybrid really up in the air. But like you said, Philippines always a very good historically hybrid team. And it's really no different from this year as Chile picks LN1 as their first pick.
You know, I'm sure this has been picked, but this is the first time I've seen this map picked. It's been kind of interesting because in the previous rounds we saw the LN1 picked a little bit sparingly, but certainly more commonly. I think the Wano pool this time around has just been very difficult, and this Packet Hero here, LN1, definitely starts to get into that realm of like really difficult one-note coordination that, you know, we would normally be seeing something like finals or grand finals, and we're really pushing the envelope on the difficulty here. So I'm not surprised necessarily to see this not come out too often, but Chile being comfortable on the long notes, having all of them open right here, this might be really what they're looking for, that coordination, even with Siluesca Els on the other team who's so good at this type of map. I think Chile just has the confidence.
For sure, and maybe this map might be a bit of a landmine, much like Chile protecting LN2 had the number 2 team score on the density pick. Philippines actually had the number 2 team score on Boost Anima last week, which was the coordination pick. So, you know, a bit worrying when you look at it by the numbers. But I think this Chile team can do really well. The problem is that I feel like Philippines as a whole is way more malleable than Chile when it comes to these other skill sets. When you think of Eleanor Hybrid, so many players for Philippines can step up. Siluesca Els, Levet, Silicosis, and Plana. And then for Chile, it's basically always going to be Muti, Kokomi, and Bambi FNF.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that works out. I know Muchi and Bambi FNF are going to kind of be those anchors for the team for Chile as well. Bambi being extremely good at Rice and Muchi being Muchi. We don't really have to say anything about that. So, in a certain sense, it's going to be interesting to see how well Bambi and Muchi hold on to the stamina if they are indeed going to be playing majority of the maps here. Whereas Philippines, like you said, maybe a little bit more flexible of a team structure where they have a lot of swap outs, and I think a lot of their players are close enough to each other in terms of like accuracy and skill that, you know, swapping someone out who's maybe like not their third necessarily in the top 3 on their team won't be that big of a hit on, you know, their consistency and score overall.
Exactly, and we even see over here that Philippines had to switch out Plana with Silicosis too. So again, speaking to that malleableness of the Philippines, they have like at least 4 players, whether it be LN, Hybrid, or Rice, that can really pick up the pace and provide a good score to their team no matter what. So Philippines gonna try to beat out Chile on this first point. They did a really good job on the coordination pick last week. Let's see if they can make that magic happen again and steal away a break point for the first point of the match.
Yeah, important to notice, actually early on, a break from Siluesca Elza right out of the gate, so not going to look too good, but that is before 400 combo. It's not going to be as impactful to the score as a miss starting right about now. But it is still going to give a small lead to Chile at the gate, and actually some accuracy issues that I wasn't necessarily expecting. Muji actually the lowest accuracy on Chile for the time being, not something we see all that often, but Levet and Silicosis both holding on above the other 2 players on Chile as well. So it's just that miss from Siluesca as they are building up that accuracy again. And that lead is pretty much stationary right around 500, but it does look like Philippines actually, if Siluesca is able to come back, do have a little bit of an accuracy advantage here against Chile and should be able to make very slight advances into this lead, especially with how early that drop was.
Yeah, I'd have to say that with a lot of these lower accuracies that we see on the scoreboard right now, it really has to do with so many staggered releases, because in these lighter sections where it's not super dense and you're not basically doing inverse jacks, you do have either 3 or 4 note staggered releases, and that's really leading to a lot of late 200s or late 300s, so be it. And I mean, Chile has done well to clean up the mess that Siluesca Els has made and is kind of running away with the lead with about 3,000 points. However, just looking at the accuracies, if Els can just get it up in this back half, I think Philippines doesn't even need a miss to trade things out and get the lead back.
Yeah, definitely, potentially. I mean, that lead was somewhere around 5,000 at the beginning of the map, and now it's already down to 2,000, so it does look like Philippines actually has a bit of an accuracy advantage, but that's another miss from Philippines. Silicos is 2, now just 1 FC left on the side of Philippines, all 3 players. Oh, as I say that though, Bambi does find a drop as well, so we're going in the ending, and that lead is going to shrink a little bit, just like it had been, but now it's a little more established, around 3,000, but it's still within striking range, but Siluesca Els does find another drop there. And it looks like this may just be Chile running away with it unless something major happens in the last few patterns here. But
yeah, I don't think so. It's just too light of patterning to be able to really miss too much. And I mean, Philippines 4 misses on their side to Chile's 1 really spelled doom for them. You look at the amount of SBs, the slider breaks, the misses, and it all really adds up. But to think that they kept things decently competitive, only about an 8,700 point loss with the amount of misses that they had, is kind of scary because it seems like as for now, Philippines does have the better accuracy on standard LN skill sets. It's just that they need to not miss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looked like if there were no misses, or at least if there was just the one miss from Els at the beginning, and they were able to stay consistent, I think that would have gone to Philippines easily.
Oh yeah, easily, and they fired off a very, very quick Price 1 pick, but I think that might have been
a mistake. Era. Yeah,
so
we haven't seen a pick yet.
Yeah, I guess not going for their protect just yet. They're gonna have to think about things a little bit more, and I mean, Allens don't sound too bad. For now, I think that Philippines could probably let Chile pick into those LNs, and once it runs out, you know, you'd have to think where do they go after. But they're gonna go for Rice 2, you know, pretty similar to Rice 1 in the fact that it's a straightforward skill set, and I mean 250 BPM jump stream. Who is going to step up to the plate for both of these teams?
Yeah, definitely. I am interested to kind of see how the Philippines goes about doing their picks through this match. I could absolutely see some interesting strategies where, like, I think Hybrid 3 is very much on the table for the Philippines. Even if they're going to be focusing on Rice, I think that Hybrid 3 selection is close enough in general skill set to something like Rice 1 or Rice 5, which we can see Chile is not like super comfortable with, given that they banned Rice 5 after Philippines protected Rice 1. And I could absolutely see that coming out from Philippines somewhere down the line, especially with how difficult and risky some of the other tactics are in this pool, especially like Rice 4. That I don't think favors either team specifically.
Yeah, interesting couple of choices that they could make later down the line. And one thing to think about is that SV2 went unnoticed as well. So, I mean, whoever wants to pick it as the game gets closer, that would be something crazy to pull out. But for now, we get into this 3-minute slaughterfest of a map at 250 BPM jump stream. It's just constant pressure applied to you. Who has what it takes to be able to deal with that pressure and pull out a decent S or FC in terms of accuracy? Because time and time again throughout this weekend, we've seen a lot of people have good accuracy, but maybe not the best combo, or good combo, but not the best accuracy. I feel like with these seedings and these teams, a lot of these players can pull out both.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I expect some very high accuracies. I would not be at all surprised to see this be a 6-way FC and just come down to an accuracy battle, which, like, you know, you have someone like Mucho on the side of Chile, who's obviously going to give a little bit of an advantage, one of the best accuracy players in the world, but you can clearly see, oh wait, but that's a miss from Muchi there, and that's going to be a huge help to the Philippines. We saw that score swapping, but what I was going to say is that 4K is also doing quite well to try and keep up. Valeria not too far behind, so the overall accuracy actually in favor of the Philippines, despite, you know, what we saw from Mewtwo right at the beginning with that 99.97, but the miss definitely going to be helpful. About a 4,500 point lead a quarter of the way into this map. And now it's just about consistency. I think the accuracy advantage is enough, but Levette does trade that miss back a little bit later, and now that lead is going to start going a little bit back. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this flickering again once Levette hits that 400 combo.
Yeah, the scary thing is, as we pass into the second song, is that, I mean, for all of these players, at least especially for the Philippines, Forken and Valeria are in a very good position just under Muchi, whereas Levette is hitting around Ben and Zan's accuracy. So as things even out, I think overall it might start climbing by maybe like dozens of points towards Philippines if people were to stay at this accuracy. So that means 200s are all the much more meaningful on a map like this.
They absolutely are, and this is slow enough that I think those 200s are not going to come very often. I don't think we've seen almost any outside of the two minor mistakes we saw from Yuchi and Levette, and those are just misses, but we do see the accuracy from Benj and Zan dropping a little bit down to the low 99.8. Levette staying very consistent around that 99.84 now, and Fork and Valeria holding the fort just behind Yuchi's accuracy here.
I feel like Stamina really getting to those three players on the bottom with Levette, Ben, and Zan, whereas Valeria and Forken have been holding their accuracies just fine, and of course with Muchi, they did have a miss early on, but of course they're gonna up their accuracy as time flies by, and already at a 99.94 despite a miss is so crazy to think about. I know there are a lot of objects left on the map, but with a 1,500 point lead, the Philippines is sitting pretty at this point. You know, a miss could swing things over, but it's going to take some time. There's not enough for Chile to really capitalize on it.
I don't know. A miss definitely could be. I did actually see maybe an accuracy break from Levette there, but it wasn't nearly enough to make any differences. We're coming to the last little bit of this map, but that doesn't mean it calms down at all. There's still plenty of opportunity to break, but the consistency has been so strong, and Benj might have just nailed it in the coffin, and the Philippines might just take their first point in the match off of what I actually think was still quite a risky pick, but, you know, about the same difference in score as we saw Chile win LN1 off of, and it's, again, similar to that one. It was off of some misses. It actually does look almost the same way that it's potential that Chile could have won that if it wasn't for the two misses there.
And I have to point out, with the age-old tradition of just shouting out Mewtwo's 300.
No, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that.
We won't, because hopefully they can keep up the performance, and we don't want to curse them at all.
I don't need to see this anymore. I've seen this enough from Mewtwo. Come on, stop that. Stop being a robot. I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna need to give Mewtwo a captcha test mid-game as we move on to Chile and their picks. So both teams securing their first pick. Chile, LN pool dwindled down just a little bit. They still have to protect in LN2. Still have Ivy Routiles. Still have some hybrid picks that could or could not be good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like it might benefit Chile to kind of avoid the other long-on pick. I mean, LN2 is obviously their protect, and I think they would want to save that anyways. But LN3 is so risky, and we've seen some real inconsistencies from both sides already as far as combo goes. LN3 not easy to get consistent combo on, so I could see potentially like Hybrid 1 might be a pick that they would want to go with. It is kind of in the similar vein as Rice 2, where it has a lot of that jump stream focus, but, has enough interweaving long notes that I think it might start to favor Chile a little bit more than that Rice 2 pick did.
Yeah, I think if I were to pick, maybe either Rakuda or Carrying Me Away might be good picks for later on for Chile, just because it kind of strays away from more stream-oriented Rice patterns and has enough LN where some of the Filipino team members could drop like we saw on LN1. But Chile gonna go for LN2, they're gonna go for the Protect. Have to see how they do on some good old density.
Yeah, I mean, good old density is one way to kind of describe this, but from playing it myself and hearing the opinions of a lot of the playtesters from the map pooling server and all that kind of stuff, this is not the easiest patterning in the world. It is actually very, very difficult to keep consistent accuracy on this, especially if you're not super well versed with long notes. That said, I mean, these are the number 4 and number 5 seeds. They're so good at everything that they play. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to be an issue for them, but we could see a little bit of discomfort. I think that's really where the interesting point of comparison between the two teams is who's going to maintain their comfort. And this was Chile's Protect, so I can imagine them all 3 of their players being quite comfortable with this.
Yeah, I think the main difference from last week is that the patterns are way less comfortable on this density pick compared to last week. So, I mean, it's definitely a different beast, and although Chile got a good score last week, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate well into this map itself. So, Philippines very much so a good fighting chance, especially when you have a lineup like Plana, Levette, and Silicosis too. We're going to see the absence of L's, but that's all right. Probably will crop up later on in some of these other hybrid and LN picks.
Yeah, absolutely. We do actually potentially see a couple of accuracy mistakes. Silicosis is starting off very strong in this intro. Actually, I think single-handedly giving the Philippines the accuracy lead for this intro, but I think these patterns in the intro section are very straightforward to get good accuracy on. So I think the players are just going to start building up, and Bambi FNF actually also holding on to a very strong accuracy. Actually, if you look, each player on the teams can be matched up with a different one. Silicosis 2 and Bambi, extremely similar accuracies. Plana and Mewtwo, extremely similar accuracies. And then My Angel Kokomi just edging out Livette and giving that 500-point lead for the time being a quarter into this map.
Yeah, bit of a matching game going on here as all of these players try to beat out their counterparts by any advantage that they can, because that'll lead to small little advantages for their team in terms of scoring. And halfway into the map, it seems like Chile is winning out in that battle, about 2,000 points of a difference, and really a lot of that is due to Levette being beat out by My Angel Kokomi by a considerable amount.
Yeah, very small differences, and we're actually seeing Levette drop a little bit more in accuracy as My Angel Cookie actually really boosts that accuracy. All three players on Chile's side actually above two of the players on the Philippines plan, Levette falling a little bit behind, and Silco's is 2 being canceled out by Bambi FNF right now, so that's going to give us a slight lead despite the consistencies on both sides.
And I don't know if there's enough weird patterning on this map to make anyone on Chile break, because that's what it seems like is needed for Philippines to take this point. The lead has skyrocketed up to 5,000 points at this point. And I mean, Levette is well below anyone else. Plana is below anyone else on Chile. It's really just Silicosis holding things together for the Filipino team. This map is trying to close out, and it's just not enough.
Yeah, this is such an impressive performance from both sides, but the accuracy just going to give away the lead for Chile. Only 6,000 points again. That's 3 maps in a row that we've had. The score differences so far have been 8,000, 6,000, 6,000.
It's so scary to think about, right? Because how many teams can beat a triple 990 on the other side of the playing field? Not that many. And with Philippines getting a 994, 1 and 0 and still being beat out by that many points is super scary to think about. Chile, pretty dominant performance on LN2. They should feel pretty good about themselves when it comes to LN accuracy at this point.
This is such an interesting position. I mean, Rice 2 went well for Philippines last time. I could see them going with maybe Rice 6 in that case, kind of, moving, still staying in that kind of straightforward zone. I mean, it is still a technical pick, so there's a little bit of variation as far as that goes, but it is still pretty straightforward and has something similar to Rice 2. And hey, I think they're listening to me.
I think there's a mole in this voice call as Philippines picks exactly as you call it. We're gonna go with Guryev Sir and Philippines booting up their 3 players. Who's it gonna be? We've got Forken, we've got Levette, who's gonna take up that 3rd spot. It's gonna be Valeria, so no big surprises there. And Chile subbing out 1 person for Zan. Pretty standard, honestly, so we're going to see a bit of a run back from that last Rice pick in Rice 2. We're going to have to see how they do, because this map is very much so different, and whoever can take this point can really branch out into a lot of other points. As I always say, there's a lot of other maps in that tech tree, and so getting this point means that Rice 4 starts to look a little better, and, well, Rice 5 is banned, but Rice 4 mainly.
Yeah, it really opens up that tech tree, especially if this goes well for the Philippines. But I mean, I've already mentioned 3 maps in, we've only seen score differences of 8,000, 6,000, and 6,000. And those are on the picks that these 2 teams feel the most confident with. I don't know where we're gonna go at this point. Like, if super confidence leads you to a 6,000 point lead, I think we're just in a position where we're waiting for the breakpoints to start piling up. And this is absolutely where that can start, because this is, despite being a little more straightforward, definitely where you can see mistakes in Levette opening up with 1 before 400 combo, a little bit more, a little bit less impactful on score, but still is a miss, and Chile will hold on to a lead at the very start here.
Yeah, those longer anchors catching Levette out, and Valeria unfortunately missing on some of these streamier bursts. And suddenly Chile is looking pretty dominant on this Rice pick, about 11,000 points, and that's nothing to scoff at as we think about how Valeria is not at combo cap yet, how Levette has reached it, but that triple FC from Chile, especially when you look at some of these accuracies, most potentially Muchi and Bambi FNF, it's going to take a lot for Philippines to be able to take this one back.
It absolutely will. Valeria now above the 400 combo, but at this map, I think gets harder as it goes on. It starts to speed up towards the end. So I could absolutely see some choke potential at the end, and 13,000 points is by no means a safe lead, especially if we start seeing some misses from Chile. This is the first technical pick we've seen, so I'd almost expect misses to, or just mistakes in general to happen. We've seen 2 from Philippines, but so far, 2/3 in, Chile looking very consistent here.
Oh yeah, some more jump stream, a very long section of it actually, and everyone just doing fine on it as we get to this 1/4 point in the map. And Philippines, unfortunately, they did raise their accuracies by quite a considerable amount after those breaks, but it's just not enough at all. Mucci and Baby FNF are doing the most to ensure that Chile can get this point off to the Philippines.
Yeah, looking for that opening break point, or the first break point, not opening exactly, but just the last few patterns left. Not much left to choke on, but still enough time if there are a couple of breaks. But the consistency from Chile is just looking too strong. A 15,000 point break point there. And again, we're not saying it. We're not saying it right now.
Yeah, everyone stay calm as we look at how Philippines, unfortunately, 2 misses. I don't think it would have been enough, even if they cleaned up their act. And Bambi FNF Mucci doing really well. Zan, decent supporting score, but more importantly, an FC which would beat out both Valeria and Levette. So really, that's the main focus there, is that Zan is able to FC it and provide that good supporting score. Philippines has a lot of thinking to do as they give over that breakpoint to Chile, because right now, Chile has, again, a lot of decent options. Some in the hybrid pool. LN3 looks still pretty good. And I mean, Chile, you can't, if you're the Philippines, you cannot let this point pass through.
Yeah, you've got to lock this down. They have already used their protect, so they might have to start venturing into somewhere else if they want that to really push that advantage. But I mean, they picked 2 long picks. The last long pick is available, and they look very strong on Ellens in general. So I could absolutely see LN3 being, the go-to here to try and really establish this lead.
Yeah, it really does feel like LN3 is probably just the safest option. If you had to go into some of the hybrids, I'd say hybrid 1 is probably pretty good as a pick as well. For maybe you could say that as a back pocket, but they are going to go for LN3. So trying to strike out the Philippines on the entirety of the LN pool. Ivy Rutels is the pick as we head into this wild card.
It certainly is. That clears out the long up pool. So no matter what happens here, Chile will have to start thinking a little more about what they want to pick. Now that they don't have the long notes to fall back on, they're going to have to start looking at the Rice or Hyper pools, or maybe even the SV pool if they feel bold enough to do that. But for now, they've got to focus on this, try and establish that lead. But we've been seeing some inconsistencies. LN1, we saw a couple misses from both sides. LN2 was a full 6-way full combo. But that's the most straightforward map in the pool, I think, outside of maybe like Rice 2. But this one definitely not straightforward in any capacity. These reverse shields are super impactful and can really cause some issues. And if you're on Chile's side, you see Siluesca Els come in, and like I mentioned before LN1 happened, Els is super strong at this particular type of map.
100%. And if we look back at Packet Hero LN1, we saw that Silicosis 2 had 1 miss and 150. Siluesca Els had 3 50s, 2 misses, whereas Chile did not miss a single beat. So again, I think that Philippines probably does have the better accuracy overall, especially on a map like this where it's not straightforward density. It's just that, can they hold their combo on it?
It's all about that consistency, and we've seen that consistency bite the Philippines just a little bit. Like you said, LN1 was potentially lost based on that consistency, and now that Rice 6 actually was also potentially lost based on the consistency that they weren't able to combo through. So it'll all come down to this. The opening, not too difficult to hold combo, but we are seeing a little bit of accuracy drops around. Chile's squad actually out-acting all 3 players on the Philippines for the time being. And this map, not too long. We're already about a quarter of the way through, but we still haven't seen all the major difficult patterns. Now we're getting into the difficulty, and right as that happens, Siluesca Els finds a break. Everyone else holding on strong and trying to build up that combo, but Baby FNF does trade it back.
It just seems like the accuracies are there for Chile at the moment, and with a 1-to-1 trade on both sides, Chile eking out the bit of the difference, 5,000 points as we get into the back half. There's a lot of release tricks going on here, a lot of jacks. The first couple of jacks caught out Siluesca Els. Will it catch out someone else again as we head deeper and deeper into the map? Chile 7,000 points of lead, bit of a break here, but once it starts going again, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, and important to note too is that miss from Siluesca Els was accompanied by a pretty big accuracy drop, whereas the one from Bambi did not really impact the accuracy quite as much. Bambi already almost back to the 99.8, whereas Siluesca is still building up at the 99.5 range behind the rest of their teammates. And now we're in the last quarter of the map. Like I said, very short, and the consistency showing from the other 4 players. No full combo or no breaks from anyone else. Just the 2 that we saw, and the accuracy lead from Chile definitely helping boost this. But My Angel Kokomi does find a break, and not the cleanest either. So that's going to help get something back in the Philippines. And that's another miss from Bambi. And it's going to get so close here at the end. And that's another miss. Oh my goodness. Philippines holds the consistency and takes a break point right back.
It felt like I was watching a boxing match. That first miss, the left hook. That second miss, a right jab. That final miss was the uppercut that the Philippines needed to secure that point. What an amazing break point, and holding consistent, especially on those faster jacks, was amazing from all 3 players in the back half. Really earned that point versus Chile.
Oh my goodness. And the protect coming out, trying to even it out. I love this pick. This is perfect picking from the Philippines, I think. I really don't think I could strategize this any differently if I was, playing for the Philippines.
No, not at all. And the fact that they struck back immediately, they said, I want to go to Rice 1 immediately. They're so confident. They want to keep this ball rolling. They want to get this point and tie things up as quickly as possible. Again, like I said before that point, you could not let Chile pass through, and they did exactly that. And again, they need to continue it. You need to get to that 3-3 equilibrium in order for you to have a stronghold on this match, because as time goes on and on, Chile will have less picks where they'll feel comfortable on.
That absolutely, and I mean they just lost a long no pick, and now they have to potentially move into something already less comfortable on their next pick. So things are going to look a little rocky if Philippines is able to take this point. Though they did win that technical pick of Rice 6, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Chile potentially looking for something, along those same lines. I mentioned Hybrid 1 being a potential later game pick for Chile, and I can definitely see that coming out next, especially if the Philippines does manage to take this.
Yeah, those players on the Philippines side are good for the physicality that's needed on these 340 streams. I mean, Valeria, Plana and Levette to be very, very physical players, and well within the part where they can hit those 990s and more. It's just that, can the supporting scores from Chile really shine through? Because Miuchi's just going to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of have to keep that in mind every single time you pick a Rice map. It's like, you got to know that Miuchi is going to get 2300s on it, and you're not going to think about it. You just have to assume that you are trying to beat out the accuracies of the other 2 players, really. And I mean, we saw the ban come out for Rice 5, so there is some discomfort, most likely from the other 2 players on Chile's side, but these accuracies definitely 3 players above Benj and Bambi right now. It's just that accuracy of Miuchi that's keeping them alive in this, and it's swapping, but Valeria finds a break, and that's going to really give the lead to Chile. This map is not super long. No count is not super high, so that's a pretty big lead, but it is still definitely within striking range. A miss will definitely even this back out.
Yeah, I don't think it was just a miss. I think it was a 50 as well, and maybe some other bad judgments. But you gotta look to some other players on the Chilean side, and maybe Ben could possibly miss, as they are struggling a bit on accuracy in terms of how it was before. And as we get into this next stream section, it's getting quite fast, and a couple of late hits on Ben's side, but it's just not enough to bring them down. It's not enough reading. It's just Philippines 10,000 points and above of a difference, and that's all off of the back of Valeria's miss. Such a big amount to think of, but it's streams, you miss one time and so many more bad judgments to follow. So a 4th left, and Miuchi and Bambi are absolutely keeping it up in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, absolutely, and no signs of any kind of stamina loss from pretty much anyone in this lobby right now. The accuracy not quite being able to be built back up by Valeria, and we only have a couple more streams, and Plana finds a miss, and that might be the nail in the coffin here for Chile to take another breakpoint right back. Potentially 3 breakpoints in a row here, and I think these pick strategies might have to start changing a little bit.
Oh yeah, another miss by Plana. So I mean, 2 misses on the Philippines side, and like we said, this was the Rice map that they were most comfortable on. You'd expect them to be able to bang out FCs like there's no tomorrow, but that's just not what happened in this match. And honestly, the accuracy was quite lacking when you compare it to anyone else on the Chilean side. So it really just seems like a misstep of a protect from the Philippines. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board, because obviously this was not the right choice.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, We're not mentioning it. We're not talking about it.
Nope, not
We
at all.
don't need to look at it. It's fine. We already said it during the match that that's what we expected, and it happened. And yeah, the accuracies overall just all completely favoring Chile there. Even with if Plana and Valeria didn't miss, I think that still pretty easily goes in Chile's favors just off the back of that score from Michi.
Yeah, the fact that the Philippines' high score was equivalent to the Chileans' lowest score is a very scary thought to think about. So Chile has the reins now. They're able to extend this lead potentially into where Chile is getting to match point. And I mean, the LN picks are exhausted, but you think about picks like Rice 3 potentially, and suddenly it starts seeming really, it's kind of good for Chile, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see a Rice 3 pick coming out here. Like, pure Ack. Ack has been on the Rice picks favoring Chile for the most part. And, there it is. Rice 3 comes out from Chile, going for the accuracy pick, going for the Jack pick, and I expect... Okay, I'm going to mention it now. I'm making a prediction. Michi gets 8 300s on this.
I was going to say 12, so we're going to have to see how this one goes as we get into the Tree of Misery. And misery it will be if Philippines is unable to lock in this point, because Chile would be in a position where they are at match point. So big point coming up here as Philippines still reeling from those 2 break points. Gonna have to think about what their plan of execution is later on down the line.
For sure. And we actually see Forken coming in for the Philippines, I think. An interesting, I think first time we've seen them swap in for this, but we've seen Chile have such a strong grasp on the Rice accuracy side of things in this pool so far. But this one is an interesting pick. I like the pick coming out of Chile, but I think when it comes to something like Rice 1, I think, you have a player like Michi who's so exceptional when it comes to getting accuracy that, like, you see that 35-300 play and you're like, we need to account for this. But on a map like this, 8 300s is, like, inhuman. But it's not going to be something that I think that is so game-changing in a map like Rice 3 in the same way that it is in Rice 1. So I don't think Philippines needs to be too worried about how good the score is going to come out from any specific player, as long as they're able to do it. And the other 3 players from Philippines have been pretty consistently keeping higher accuracies than, everyone except Michi on Chile. So if they're able to kind of mute it out, I think this could go either way still.
Oh yeah, and as I'd like to point out before we get into it, and it's a very slow start to be fair, Forken did play in 2 different maps, both Rice, top scored the entire lobby on Rice 2 with a 997 because Michi did miss, and also top scored for the Philippines at least on Guryuv Sir, which was Rice 5, or Rice 6, I forget which one. And I mean, Forken very much a standout player. What needs to happen on this pick is that Forken and Valeria need to have better accuracies than Michi and Zan combined, because that's exactly what happened on Rice 2, and you can expect Levette to basically match Ben as well. So again, this is very much such a big breaking point for them. Valeria and Forken need to keep up and minimize their 300s.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing some very strong accuracies all around, but for the time being, what you said, Michi and Zan are out-acking Valeria and Forken at the moment. Valeria just behind Michi, Zan just ahead of Forken with that accuracy, and Levette and Ben, like you said, matching each other pretty well. But the longer this map goes on, we'll have to see how the stamina holds up. Valeria definitely dropping a little bit of accuracy, but we're talking about dropping accuracy as if it's actually dropping anything, with all 6 players above 99.93 right now. It's still only about 600 points of lead, and I don't know if Michi has dropped to 300 yet.
I don't want to think about it at all.
Hey, there was one. We saw it. We saw one. Okay, we're good.
We finally saw it.
We're not seeing a million score here.
Yeah, finally getting into these denser sections. So, I mean, you had that easy start. Now is the true test, and a couple of weird trills here and there just to keep you on your feet. It seems like everyone's doing just fine. Levette dropping a bit in terms of accuracy. Same with Forken, finally below their counterparts in Ben and Zan. Valeria is trying their best to keep up, but it's not enough. This is going to be a map decided by 300s, if not a 200. A 200 would swing things greatly, but a miss is even better for Chile as Forken finds it.
Absolutely, and that's going to give a huge point swing as everyone else still holds very strong, and we get out of the dense part, and it looks like Chile, as long as no catastrophes happen here, should lock this out and bring it to a match point on Rise 3, and the Philippines got to start thinking about what they kind of want to do. It's difficult to think about this. I mean, SV has not even been like thought about, I don't think, and now we're in a position where the Philippines, down 3 points, needs to win one more break point and both of their next 2 picks. They've got to figure something out.
Yeah,
Dang it wasn't a single digit
oh,
perfect. What are you doing, Muka? Come
you know
on.
what?
That's not a good
Yeah.
score anymore. But I like Zan's score a lot. That's a really good score.
I also like Valeria's, possibly even a better score
Wow,
than
that actually I didn't
Sans.
even notice. Wow, that is better than Zan's, but they're both great. But I think Muka just didn't do it. Didn't do good enough.
Yeah, unfortunate performance by Michi. But I mean, good performance by Chile overall.
Yeah, really
So
good. I mean,
satisfying.
outside of the epic Jack score from Forken, we saw incredible accuracies all around. It was just 1-200 from Forken and the 2 misses that kind of just threw it off. I think Chile still wins that even without the misses, but it is just kind of how those kinds of rice maps go.
And I love Philippines taking this time out. They really need to think because this is their potential last pick. Hindsight is 2020, but if I had to say, I don't think they should have gone for Rice 1, and I think they should have recognized after that skating defeat on Gur Yusur that Rice is too deadly of a pick when you're against Chile at this stage to really go for points. They should have probably pivoted into hybrids a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I see Hybrid 3 being the pick here. That's my guess. I mean, Rice 1 didn't go as well as they probably wanted it to, but the discomfort on those kinds of speed picks is definitely still clear from Chile given the Rice 5 ban. So Hybrid 3, definitely probably where I'd fight, unless the Philippines feels confident in an SV pick, which maybe SV2 is it, but Chile did win against Brazil last week on that SV2 pick into them, so it's clear that Chile is also putting in the work to make sure that they're good enough at these SV picks.
Yeah, it's so scary to think about because SV2 has gone unnoticed, and like we said, it's kind of just like a landmine just sitting there dormant in the map pool right now. Does Philippines want to go for it? Can they go for something else such as Hybrid 3? It looks good on paper. You won on coordination, you won on very speedy, stamina-oriented jump stream. It's just so tough to say. Silvesca L says they already have a pick in mind, so really just using that tactical timeout to reset the mentality, refocus, and just replenish their stamina.
Yeah, I mean that's just I understand that kind of it makes sense. Their opponent is at match point. They lose any more picks here, and the game is over. Like the match is over. Oh, Hybrid 2. Oh, this is not even on my list of any picks that were happening in this match. If I had to guess, I would have thought it was going to go Hybrid 3, Hybrid 1 from Chile, and then Rice 4 from Philippines. That's what I was expecting to happen. I thought Hybrid 2 and SV2 were getting ignored fully, but this is an interesting pick. This is so scary.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about landmines with SV2. I always feel like Carry Me Away is going to be a landmine of a pick at any point for any team as well. You think about some of the patterns in here. You think about how fast the jacks are, how long the jacks go for, how dense the LN gets, and it is so scary. At any point, anyone can miss if they're having a bad day. They finger lock. We've seen it time and time again this weekend. So with Philippines choosing Hybrid 2 as their potential last pick, do they have the confidence in this to go all out? Can they take a point on Chile in Hybrid and really turn things around in this final hour for them?
Yeah, that's what they've got to do. They've got to get some momentum back in their favor, and we saw that breakpoint come out earlier from them, keeping them alive in the match, and they are still holding on for their winner's bracket life. This has to be the pick to turn it around for them. Chile also kind of out of comfortable picks. If Philippines win this, I absolutely see a world where they make it to tiebreaker, 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree. And I mean, there's still Rice 4 left, considering that Chile won 3 picks on Rice. But as we get into the match with a bit of a delay, I'm not sure if that's a client miss on Bambi FNF side, but if it's not, that would be quite big of a lead to start off with for the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that to reset potentially, but I don't. It's taking a while for it to reset. That might have been a real miss, and the Philippines opening up with a small lead as the technical patterns start to come in. Those mini jacks, we see a lot of accuracy breaks all around. And actually, even with that miss from Bambi FNF, this lead is so close. Off the back of that insane accuracy from Muchi. What is that?
Yeah, able to crush those jacks with ease, but Bambi FNF not so much as they take yet another miss. And so with Celestka Els trading it back, things are looking dicey for both teams. It's really hard to say once people get back up to ComCap who has the true lead in this map.
Yeah, it's going to be real close. Muchi does find a break, though, the highest accuracy. That's going to be huge for the Philippines. They're going to hold on to that lead and build up even a little bit, but Plana trades it back. I don't know who's going to be in the lead after these two players get back above 400, but it is like flickering. I think, and that's another miss from Plana, though, and Chile's going to establish a small lead going into this ending. We have some difficult reverse shield long note patterns coming up here. We saw Chile be a little inconsistent, especially when we saw it on LN3. Could absolutely still see some stuff happen. It's only 7,000 points right now, though.
Yeah, and only a fourth of the map left. This is a very short map, so a couple misses or one miss and a couple bad judgments can really swing things in favor for the Philippines, but it just does not seem like it's gonna happen. Things are trying to end out, and Chile is trying to beat Philippines with a dominant 6-2 scoreline, and it seems like they're just gonna do it.
Last few patterns coming up in this match, and Els locks it down, finds a miss, and Chile going to take a nail-biter of a match. That was a much closer match than 6-2 seems to say, but what a performance all around. I think the largest gap we saw in these two teams was 24,000, which, how?
Yeah, it's just not at all. There's so many maps just decided by about 10,000 or less, which is crazy to think about. I said it was a dominant scoreline, 6-2, but I mean, you look at it map to map, and it could have been anyone's game. Chile just really being the better players on the day. So congratulations, very much so, to Chile as they make it through still in the winner's side. And for this awesome victory, they get the benefits of facing either the United States or Malaysia in the next round.
Scary two opponents to see in your next potential round. I don't know if I'd be necessarily excited if I was Chile, but they're still in the winner's side of the tournament going into semifinals, so they have guaranteed at least a top 6 performance. So huge for them. Philippines, like we said, not knocked out yet. They are just being moved down into the losers bracket starting in the semifinals weekend. But that is, oh my goodness.
Yeah, what a match, right? I mean, Philippines going to go ahead and face, in the losers bracket, the winner of UK versus Hong Kong, which will be decided later. But that is going to do it for us for now in terms of this little block. We do have a match going on in a slight bit for UTC. We've got, like we said, United States versus Malaysia. We're going to see who Chile is going to face with that one. And then after that, a couple more, Taiwan versus New Zealand, and then the larger block later on in the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, but we're not ready to go yet, are we, Toph?
No, I think I need to know a way that we can support the players in the tournament. Do you know anything like that?
Oh, I do. You talked about how any of these teams, the Philippines, Chile, United States, any of them could win MWC, any of them can be on the podium. And what better way to support these teams than to get a couple of banners from the Osu store? Head on over to the Osu main site, go to the header, click stores, products, banners, and for the low price of $2.50, that's less than a cup of coffee, that's less than Osu supporter, you could support your team and have a fancy little banner displayed on your profile. Not only that, you can have multiple. You can support teams that are out, you can support your favorite teams that if you have more than one, and if you pick the winner of the MWC 2024 championship, you will also be allowed to keep that banner for the rest of the year. So again, go ahead into the OSU site and support your favorite teams. How does that sound, Toph?
That sounds perfect. I love banners. Please go buy them. Please support our tournament and these wonderful, wonderful players. Outside of that, I don't think I have much left to say. We mentioned we got one more match, or a couple more matches actually coming up in a short block here. But we will be back in just about an hour for USA, Malaysia, followed immediately by Taiwan, New Zealand. So I hope you guys get your little break, but make sure to come back for 2 very exciting matches coming up. We'll see you guys then.